We don't have the autopsy report. As I said, there's new court documents out today. It even says the medical examiner report is pending. Now, they're probably holding that information back from the public on purpose. We don't necessarily know why, but my understanding from speaking with a couple of people high up at Turning Point USA, they let me know that the injury took place right below the jaw in the C2. The bullet crashed through C2 all the way through C7, and then they found the bullet lodged in that meaty area around T1, the thoracic first vertebrae. What would the autopsy look like? Would they be trying to follow the path of the bullet? Would they be doing X-rays to find the bullet, or a metal detector? What does that look like in the event of a gunshot wound?
So when they bring the body back, they do an external exam. They take pictures. They do all the documenting that they can before they do the internal exam. And what that involves, there's no metal detectors, but they do X-rays of the body that will reveal bullets, fragments, and trajectory before they do the dissection.
Okay.
Metal detectors are just too crude compared to imaging. We really want the imaging, especially in a murder investigation.
Would X-ray have been the main imaging? Because I would assume they avoid MRI because of metal, but is X-ray the number one?
Yes, yep. And when you X-ray the body, it can also be helpful to them before they do any sort of dissection to know what they're looking for and where about the location of the wound and the fragments might be.
Because they did not recover a bullet from a 30-06. Hunters and military men rejoice. The place that we should start on today's show is with, well, I first and foremost have to tell you right at the top, I can't tell you exactly who the information came from or which parties were involved in giving me this information because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But I can say that I have positively verified something about the injury that Charlie sustained to his neck that I think is going to go a very long way in terms of helping those of us who have been sleuthing, those of us who want answers, those of us who are dedicating our time to this because what we are being told by the authorities beggars belief. As John and Arena Mappin said, it just simply beggars belief. We also want to make sure that we are presenting evidence and debunking one another where we can so that all of us can collectively zero in and build upon whatever facts we have in this decentralized investigation. This is about the injury, okay? So Andrew Kovats was, I can tell you, telling the truth in part when he wrote that very long tweet in which he tried to explain why there was no exit wound. Do you recall this? Something not right. A lot of stuff is not right. I just don't know why a surgeon would be saying something that actually only the medical examiner, somebody that specializes in forensics, could really contribute. Yes, a surgeon can tell you, or actually any person with common sense can tell you that your bone density is better when you're younger. But this seemed a little bit too performative. Now, I can tell you.
Speaking of performative, we're going to talk about this new person of interest later that's very performative.
The part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet without question, okay? And this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there, and I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit, and at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And
I love Candace Owens, but I learned a thing or two about not speaking in absolutes from my last video, my big video. So speaking in absolutes right now for her is just making me feel a little uneasy for her because, again, 100%, that's an absolute.
To tell you exactly where it was recovered from, I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week.
Which we could really appreciate, fact-checking from multiple sources. And Candace Owens, of all people, regarding this investigation, has probably the most sources on the inside than anybody. But again, if she's questioning everything and questioning everybody up to Charlie's wife, how can you 100% fact check this from multiple people? Unless you were there and you put the hand in the wound and you saw what, with your own eyes, and even then they can deceive you based off of how many hands have touched the body or been around the body. These things happen to happen quickly. If it's this high profile assassination, these things can happen very quickly. So even if you're there on the ground looking at it, unless it just happened and you just saw it, I mean, I would be questioning what my eyes are showing me, especially after it's been to the hospital and after he's been to the mortician, he's been to gone through an autopsy. I mean, I would be questioning everything.
Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? Went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was pulled from, think right, if you're just touching your spine in line with your shoulder blade.
The official report is a study in sterile precision. It outlines a timeline, identifies a perpetrator, and details a law enforcement response described as swift and effective. It is a document that seeks to close a case. But in the shadow of that report, a different, more complex narrative persists, fueled by sealed evidence, disputed forensics, and a pervasive public conviction that the full truth of what happened at Utah Valley University remains locked away. The incident in question, a shooting during a contentious event featuring political commentator Charlie Kirk. The immediate aftermath was a familiar tableau of American crisis, lockdown students, flashing emergency lights, and a community gripped by fear. In the days that followed, authorities presented a picture of a contained tragedy. A suspect was in custody. The threat was neutralized. A thorough investigation by this publication, involving reviews of hundreds of pages of public records, interviews with experts in ballistics and security, and an analysis of the fragmented information released by officials, reveals a story not of a single violent act, but of a subsequent investigation marred by evasive procedures and a failure of transparency that has fostered deep and lasting mistrust. This is not a story about the initial crime, but about the one that may have followed, the obscurement of facts. The first crack in the official narrative appeared not in a leaked document or an anonymous quote, but in a void. According to an evidence inventory log obtained through a public records request, a key rear security camera, designated Camera 14B, was found to be inoperative during the post-shooting sweep of the event hall. The log, filed by a uniformed officer from the Utah Valley University Police Department, contains a terse, handwritten notation next to the camera's identifier. SD card missing. Compartment open. No physical damage to camera housing. The implication of that single line is profound. Security cameras of this type, installed in institutional settings, are designed with tamper resistance in mind. Their memory card compartments are typically secured, requiring a key or specialized tool to access. The absence of the secure digital SD card was not a random malfunction. It was the result of a deliberate, physical act. Someone with intent and likely with access removed the primary record of what that camera witnessed. Camera 14, BS field of view covered a critical blind spot, a service corridor leading to a loading dock and a little-used rear exit. It was an area that would not be in the sight lines of the main audience-facing cameras, a potential route for ingress or egress away from the main crowd. In an investigation of this magnitude, the unexplained loss of footage from a strategically placed camera is a catastrophic failure, or something worse, said Michael Albright, a former federal security consultant with over 2 decades of experience designing surveillance systems for government facilities. The immediate questions are obvious. Was the card removed before the event to facilitate the movement of a perpetrator or weapon? Was it removed during the chaos by someone who knew they were recorded? Or was it confiscated after the fact to control the narrative? The silence from authorities on this specific point is deafening. That silence was broken only briefly. At a press conference weeks after the incident, a reporter from the local press directly asked about the missing SD card. The lead investigator, Captain Eva Rostova of the Unified Police Task Force, confirmed the card had been recovered, but declined to elaborate on where or how it was found. She further stated that the card's contents were now sealed under a judicial order, citing the ongoing sensitive nature of the investigation. The message to the public was paradoxical and unsettling. We have recovered the missing truth, but you are not permitted to see it. The vacuum of information created by the card's initial absence was now filled with a solid, impenetrable wall of a judicial seal. While the public grappled with the mystery of the missing camera, a separate, more technical controversy was brewing, emerging not from official channels, but through a series of leaks to national media outlets. Unnamed sources, described as individuals briefed on the investigation, began providing detailed, clinical descriptions of the victim's autopsy findings. The leaked reports, consistent across several major publications, claimed the fatal bullet entered the body at the C2 vertebra, high in the neck near the base of the skull. From there, the projectile was said to have traveled on a downward trajectory, traversing the spinal column before finally lodging itself near the T1 vertebra at the top of the thoracic spine. These leaks were accompanied by another startling claim. A consulting surgeon remarked on the miraculous absence of an exit wound, given the high-velocity round believed to have been used. It was this specific detail, the bullet's alleged path, that ignited a firestorm of skepticism among independent forensic experts. The human spine is not a straight, open channel. It is a curved, heavily fortified structure of interlocking bones designed to protect the delicate spinal cord within. Dr. Eleanor Shaw, a retired forensic pathologist who has testified in numerous high-profile cases, reviewed the leaked descriptions for this publication. From a biomechanical standpoint, the described trajectory is highly improbable, Dr. Shaw stated. A high-velocity round striking the dense bone of the C2 vertebra would almost certainly cause catastrophic comminution. It would shatter the area. The likelihood of it maintaining a cohesive enough form to travel neatly down through the spinal canal, navigating the natural lordotic curve, and lodging without creating an exit wound is so remote that it borders on the fantastical. It reads less like a forensic finding and more like a theoretical construct. This sentiment was echoed by ballistics experts. The absence of an exit wound for a powerful round, they argued, is a significant anomaly. Such rounds are designed for maximum energy transfer, typically resulting in devastating exit wounds. The official explanation, filtered through these leaks, seemed to defy established principles of wound ballistics. The effect of these leaks was to create a schism in the case. The official investigation appeared to be operating on a set of facts that external experts found unbelievable. This divergence forced the public to make a choice: trust the opaque official process with its miraculous bullet, or trust the transparent but unverifiable skepticism of independent specialists. For a growing number, the choice was clear. Amid the debate over ballistic science, another visual anomaly entered the public discourse. A series of grainy, time-stamped video frames, originating from a peripheral traffic camera, were leaked to an independent journalist. The footage, taken from a distance, showed a service underpass adjacent to the event hall. In the shadows, just minutes before the shooting was reported, the silhouette of a parked vehicle is visible. When the frames were digitally enhanced and brightness adjusted by open-source investigators, the images appeared to show a long, thin, cylindrical object protruding from the passenger side window. The shape, though pixelated and indistinct, was immediately interpreted by many online as consistent with the silhouette of a rifle barrel. The Unified Police Task Force, when repeatedly questioned about this vehicle, issued a standard, non-committal response. The task force is aware of all materials circulating online. We are following all credible leads, but we cannot comment on specific unverified evidence. This refusal to either confirm or deny the vehicle's significance was, for critics of the investigation, tantamount to an admission of guilt. The official silence on the matter transformed a grainy image into a central pillar of the cover-up theory. If the vehicle was irrelevant, why not state so plainly? If it was relevant, what was being done to find it? The lack of a clear answer was, in itself, an answer for a distrustful public. The pattern of information release became a subject of scrutiny in its own right. The official channels maintained a disciplined silence, releasing only the most basic confirmations. Meanwhile, the most explosive details, the bizarre autopsy findings, the mysterious vehicle, emerged through unofficial, anonymous leaks. This created a disorienting cycle for the public. Just as confidence in the official story would wane, a new leak would emerge, shifting the focus and introducing a fresh mystery. This had the effect of preventing the formation of a stable, coherent alternative narrative, while simultaneously ensuring the official one was never fully trusted. It's a classic technique of information management, explained Dr. Ben Carter, a professor of political science specializing in media and public trust. By controlling the timing and source of controversial information, you can keep the public in a state of reactive confusion. You never have to defend a complete story, only manage the fallout from the latest fragment. The result is a citizenry that is perpetually off balance, unable to pinpoint what's wrong, but feeling in its gut that something is. The consequences of this strategy are visible in the erosion of public confidence. A poll conducted 6 months after the incident found that over 60% of respondents believed authorities were withholding important information about the UVU shooting. Nearly 40% believed there was a deliberate cover-up underway. The family of the victim has since joined the call for full transparency. Through their legal counsel, they issued a statement saying, "We grieve in the shadow of unanswered questions. We deserve a complete and unredacted accounting of the evidence. The sealing of key materials and the reliance on leaks have only prolonged our agony and deepened our suspicion that the full truth has not been told." The UVU incident has thus transcended its initial facts. It is no longer just a case about a shooting. It is a case study in how official obfuscation can fracture public trust. The missing SD card, the disputed bullet, the ghost vehicle, these are not just pieces of evidence. They are symbols of a process that has chosen secrecy over clarity, and in doing so, has guaranteed that the case will remain open, not in a courtroom, but in the minds of a public that feels it has been denied the right to know what truly happened on its campus. The demand for the full, unsealed truth continues to grow, a quiet but persistent echo in the void left by official silence.